If you're just joining us, you're watching Sunrise, and it's coming to you live from the headquarters of Channels Television. In the last segment, we talked about human capital development, and much of what we said was about the fact that food and nutrition is very, very important to human capital.
Critical role.
Quite critical. So right now, we'll be talking about food safety and security. Now, safe food supplies support national economies, talk about trade and tourism, and they contribute to food and nutrition security and underpin sustainable development. Now, as the world's population grows, the intensification and industrialization of agriculture and animal production to meet increasing demand for food creates both opportunities and challenges for food safety. Now, climate change is also predicated to impact food safety, where temperature changes modify food safety risks associated with food production, storage, and distribution. All right, so we have an expert in the house right now to discuss that with us, and he's no other than Mr. Wale Toye. He is the president and chairman of the Nigerian chairman of Council of Nigeria Institute of Food Science and Technology. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Food safety.
Food safety.
How safe are we, when it comes to food production and consumption in Nigeria?
For me, I would say we're safe. We've been safe for years, and today we're safer. And I'm sure we keep working on it, we're going to be safer in years to come. We're safe.
All right, so I want to look at safety in two ways. The quantity, the volume of what we have, because if you're going to run out of food in another 1 year, you're not exactly safe, especially when that is not proportional to your consumption. That's on one part. Volume of food production. Now, the other one is the quality of food production. I also understand that when the government started the school feeding program, there was issue with eggs because we weren't, based on new levels of consumption as a result of that program, we ran out of eggs. All right, so how do we juxtapose this? So how safe are we in those regards, quality and quantity?
For me, I think you can only have food security if you have safe food. Because if you have an unwholesome and unsafe food, you are still not secured. If you have food that are not enough quantity-wise, you are still not secured. There's this common thing. Some people say when you go to the fast food places, you are going there to eat junks. And I say, no, I disagree.
Why so?
There's a million plus out there who don't even have anything to eat. Not to talk of having enough. So what's junk? So it's a very thin line. It's a very thin line. Just like it's a thin line between food safety and food security. But the issue of egg for the school feeding program.
That was just an example.
Yeah, it's not different from the issue of cassava for cassava flour to be added to bread, to be added to confections and all the rest of it, and to be dried up and exported, to be used for gari. When this whole thing started, we almost ran out of tubers, cassava tubers. And then the government now had to go back and encourage farmers to produce more. And so I look at these things as developmental. It will happen, especially when you're trying to move forward. We cannot allow such to not stop us and say we shouldn't move forward, or we should not keep talking about the safety of our food, the quality of our food, and being part of the global community when it comes to food imports.
Okay, so you said in terms of, production, we are fine, of food in Nigeria, we are good.
Yes, if you are looking at food strictly from the point of view of consumption. And I look at food food must be safe, wholesome, and nutritious.
Okay,
that's food.
That's where you're looking at it from.
Yes.
So, but in terms of the production, we know we have yam. We talk about rice. You know, the government is doing a lot in that area. But the issue of storage is very high on the minds of those who are involved in agriculture, you know, production, because they look at it. Okay, we have pineapples that will come out of, for instance, from Edo State. We have bananas, plantain, and more than half will get rotten. Yes. So
from post-harvest
if we look at it from that angle, how do we address that?
There are various ways, but let's just go back a little. And if I remember correctly, the Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology 15 years ago focused on post-harvest losses. And we put a lot of things out there into the space, which resulted in one good thing, and that's the creation and the use of silos for grains. Now, storage, and to ensure that you have grains through the year, you can go to silos and use. When you start talking about fruits and other farm produce, and you're talking about storage, to ensure that we have enough, we now have to go to processing. How do we process to keep it safe, wholesome, nutritious, until we're ready to use it to produce that which we want to consume immediately? Of course, you can process, you can heat process to keep, you can freeze it, but all of this needs the backing of government.
Because you're thinking and saying, okay, we have tomatoes, you know, and yet importation of tomato paste is thriving.
Right now, we are looking at, okay, it's thriving because the available tomatoes from the farm is not enough to process tomato into cans for safekeeping. You cannot keep that tomato in the farm for too long. You lose it. But if you process it, you can keep it for much longer. But meanwhile, the cost of production, the cost of processing, and maybe for some, the space to keep, which I think is the least, is what is driving the entrepreneurs in this sector away.
No, I really, well, I haven't thought about it in that direction, that what you said is the reason why they're not producing, because not too long ago, there was a certain gentleman who decided to process tomatoes in Nigeria. And we realized that all of a sudden, tomato was getting expensive. It was getting dear in the market because there is not
enough from the farm.
Production from the farm.
Yeah, this will happen to any of our farm produce. The moment we start producing for safekeeping, the moment we start processing for consumption and for export. That was why I mentioned the issue of cassava. Now, farmers must be encouraged. And I remember government saying part of the encouragement to farmers is to ensure that when they plant and they harvest, that the return to them is good enough for them to want to go back. If the return is not good enough, the farmer will not be encouraged. That means those of us who are processing will not have enough to process. That means the imported ones will have a field day, unless the government is ready to stop importation, which I doubt.
Okay, so let's talk about, you've mentioned wholesome food a couple of times, and I'm thinking about the application of fertilizers and pesticides and all of that, because some time ago, the beans from Nigeria, you know, was rejected, you know, exported to certain European countries, and, you know, they were rejected and, you know, completely banned at that time. I'm not sure if the ban is lifted right now.
It is.
Okay,
it has been lifted.
So how do we ensure that some of the applications of these fertilizers and pesticides are done at the right moment and, the correct doses, just so that in trying to preserve, the produce that we have, we are not also, get toxins into the people's system.
That's an issue that is current in the food space right now. Let's take the issue of sniper. Thank God, NAFDA has banned it, because I was of the opinion that the best way out of that challenge right now is just ban it, because those who are using it don't know what they're using and they don't know how to use it.
I saw a video of someone spraying it on smoked fish and things like that.
So that outright ban by NAFDA, I think for now is okay until we can educate our people. Well, let's now get back to the use of fertilizers and all these other chemicals is to ensure optimum production from the farm, to ensure that whatever the farmer grows is not only wholesome, but at the right quantity, that his loss is minimal.
Which is fine.
Yeah, which is good. But it goes back to the fact that those who are using these chemicals must be aware of what they are using and how to use it. We're talking about the ordinary man using a sniper in the market. Fine. I don't know how many. I don't know how we want to get to them. That's why I say it should be banned. I suggest it should be banned. But on the farm, our farmers are more organized, so all of these things can be achieved to ensure that we have adequate production. And of course, if what is coming out of the farm does not have residual chemicals or pesticide or whatever, beautiful. But if it does, by the time it gets to the processing stage and you are processing it, you have a problem, because it's going to show up somewhere, could end up being a loss, could end up, if not properly controlled, getting into the wrong hand, into the wrong person, somebody eating it and getting sick. So this is part of the chain, of the value chain, that must be adequately addressed, and I think it's been addressed.
All right. Let's take a short break now. We'll continue on this trajectory when we come back. Don't go away. All right, so you're watching Sunrise, and we are discussing food safety and security. And we have Mr. Wale Toye, President and Chairman of Council, Nigeria Institute of Food Science and Technology. Now, if any country...
In that report, sorry, Kayode, a lot of times we heard issues of mycotoxins. And just before we went on that break, you were talking about, some of these pesticides and fertilizers that, normally they're fine for agricultural, production. But how do we deal with overdose of it? Maybe at the farm level, at the preservative level, or at the home front?
These are issues that have become topical in recent times. Residual pesticides and other chemicals and toxicants are much easier to deal with at the home level. But mycotoxins are much more difficult. They're not things that you can take care of at home per se. These are issues that must be dealt with properly to ensure that they do not exist. Yeah. Because even at production or processing level, if you have mycotoxin, your processing method can probably just destroy parts.
So what brings them into existence? Just so you know,
most mycotoxin contamination comes from fungi and molds, yeast and molds and fungus.
And this could happen at the storage level.
It can, but usually at the storage level, if it happens, you will see it, and if you have a system that works, that should not get to a consumer. But at the farm level, if you have such contamination at the farm level, then you still have within the chain an opportunity to get rid of them. But you must identify that, you must be able to know that you have it.
So what's the role of your institute? What's the role of
Good.
yours?
The Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology is an institute made up of food professionals. We are there in the food industry, we are there in the academics, we are there in the regulatory agencies. We actually ensure that what gets to you is wholesome, is safe and nutritious. That's a food technologist.
If I ask you how well you have done that, I'm sure you will tell me,
very well.
Very well. But we still have some beans, for instance, we've heard stories of how a particular family cooked beans in the evening, everybody had the meal, and then the next day it was an emergency to the hospital.
Now, if you just take a step back, yes, when I was growing up, there were cases of even people eating gari and ending up in the hospital because of the peel. So sometimes such cases will come up, but peradventure, if that had been because of some contamination of the beans, maybe with pesticide like sniper that we just talked about, that can always be taken care of with proper cooking.
Why you say proper cooking?
At the home level. And I will advise, especially for beans, for a product like beans, maybe rice, those that you are cooking, you can parboil such first. Parboil it maybe 5 minutes, cooking, parboiling it, and then that first water, you now throw it away. You are likely to have a safer grain for further cooking and for consumption.
Okay, Kade.
All right. So if any country should be serious about food safety, it should be Nigeria, because these things have consequences on people's health. We heard in the report we just played that this can impact your health. We've seen cases of cancer and all of these things. But because we know that we're not exactly up to scratch when it comes to health, a lot of people still can't access health. So we need to deal with these things on the consumption level. Now, it speaks to the issue of those who are monitoring the production and consumption of food. You mentioned the fact that these things have been banned. The guys who use it, do they even know that they've been banned? Do we have, is there a record of those who still stockfish, processed stockfish? Do we have that? How are we ensuring that these people are adhering to the fact that these things have been banned? When I was growing up, I knew about the wule-wules. We knew them. We saw them. Anyone who was doing something wrong would know in a day or two you'll be found out. But I'm not sure these people they even know that these things have been banned.
Now, the market woman or man selling and using an unauthorized pesticide, we don't have the data for that group. We don't have it. But what we do have,
that's a critical group.
Very, very critical. But what we do have, or what we know we can do on the safety side, is to ensure that they don't have access to it.
How?
So that's why.
How are you ensuring that?
If they can't get it to buy, they don't have access. That particular sniper had been banned. You can't get it. They can't get it the way they used to get it.
Oh, I see.
Meanwhile, there has to be awareness. We need to have an awareness, a campaign awareness. Now, for my institute, part of the things that we are doing in recent times, and we're making a success of it, we are going to the lower level, what we call the street food safety campaign. And we're going to the various mama puts, the woman selling boli, the suya man.
When did you start
market?
This?
It's been on for over a year now. And we're taking it, right now we started in Lagos, we're taking it to our other chapters. We're asking her if you recently they went to some markets in Kano like a month ago. It was a big success. You see, the thing about food safety is that most of the people that can cause problem, they are causing the problem because they do not know. And you see, food safety is everybody's business. 2019, that's the theme of 2019, the World Food Safety Day. The theme is food safety is everybody's business. And for me and for my institute, we say the science of food is science of life. That's what you just said, because it's about our health. You are as good as what you eat growing up. So we are doing a lot of awareness. We're very much into it. Food safety is our 5-year strategic plan is to ensure that food safety becomes known to every Nigeria between now and 5 years.
Are you empowered enough to do that?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
You'll get to that.
Yes, I'll get to that.
Okay.
So that because it's a very good question. Are we empowered? Now, we collaborate with practically all the regulatory agencies. Like I said,
Standards Organization of Nigeria, NAFDAC.
NAFDAC, we partner with them, and my professional members are the core staff in these establishments.
All right. When I ask that, are you empowered enough to do that? I'm not talking about your policy allowance to do that. I'm talking about funding.
Yeah, that's why I also say, because that's very interesting to me. As we speak, what we need, the legal backing that we need as an institute, the last assembly passed it. That's the charter bill for the Council of the Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology.
Oh, that's interesting.
Was passed by the two houses, and as I speak, is waiting for presidential assent. Now, you mentioned the school feeding program. The first group of people that should be called when that program was being put together was NIFST. It should have been called.
Were you called? No.
We were not called. But because we are an institute that is 43 years old, and all these 43 years we've been impacting when it comes to food processing. We've been doing everything that has to be done, as if to say we have that enabling power. Because the members are committed, we have been running our institute from our pockets. This street food safety campaign that we're doing for over 1 year now, from our pockets. We're not asking anybody for money.
How are you raising funds? And that speaks loudly to whether or not you're able to exactly do
it means that we can do more. And that's where a month ago we were in Abuja, we had a program on mycotoxins. And at that program, we made a passionate appeal to Mr. President to please assent to our bill.
Yeah.
So, because we want to key into all the government programs. I mean, government has a lot of beautiful programs. I mean, let's face it, when it comes to food. But in the implementation, if you miss it, if you miss anything in between, the end result will not be favorable.
Okay, so you say your institute collaborates with the Standards Organization of Nigeria, NAFDAC, and other relevant agencies like that.
Even the CPC.
So what is it in terms of the traceability process of the whole food chain? Because sometimes you have a particular production that is defective, that is contaminated. Is there a process? Have you found out in your working with SON and NAFDAC that we are able to say, okay, this batch of beans that was produced at this particular time, it should be recalled?
Yeah, that's a standard practice in any food processing outfit. Standard practice. As a matter of fact, when NAFDAC comes to check you, they will ask you what your procedure of recall is. Now, I know that most of our food processing outfits, the medium to the large ones, are they have a system that works, even beyond the recall. They have a problem in-house, they will identify it. They don't have to wait for anybody, and it will be recalled. So for them, our concern in this area, especially as far as food safety is concerned, had been more with our SMEs, because they don't have that capacity, they don't have that awareness. So just like we're doing our street food campaign, we're also doing a lot with the SMEs. You know, because in years to come, SMEs will be producing a lot of the food that we eat. And they need to be there. They need to be aware of the safety of whatever they are producing and giving to us. So we're focusing on that. For the big guys, we don't have much problem with them. They have systems in place that works. I know it works.
Okay, so this question is coming from Olabisi on Twitter, and it says, I shall ask you, what is the role of your institution in sanitizing all kinds of chemicals used to preserve food, you know, like we talked about sniper? Is there a role that you also play in that?
Yes, not that. Yes and no. We don't have a role directly, but the institute revolves around our professionals. Our professionals are knowledgeable enough to make a difference in the various establishments where they work. So the rules of chemicals, when it comes to applying it to any kind of food item, be it on the farm or in the market, there's standard regulation that must be followed. And as long as you follow those regulations, you are not likely going to have any problem. So our role is more from, just like your last program, human capital development. We are the people doing it. And because, as long as we are doing it right, we're likely going to have the right result at the end.
Even Eniola Fafa is also, he or she is also concerned about the ban about on a sniper. What about the others? Because I think he will be thinking of, instead of just banning them, because some of them are indeed useful. Some of them are indeed useful. Instead of just banning, what the regulation as to how they are used, you know, is what I guess is
yes, the ban.
Sorry, you will hold your answer. When we come back from this break, okay, you can take that question. Right. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. So you were going to answer the questions about, you know, the use of, you know, chemicals and, you know, the regulation instead of just banning them.
You see, it's not an outright ban per se, but it's to ensure that people that do not know how to use it don't have access to it. And if you have access to it,
how is that going to be done?
If you have access to it, then you should be trained.
No, all right. NAFDAC has banned sniper, yes, but we're talking now of even other chemicals, because
somebody mentioned no pest or something like that.
Is interested in knowing, you know, other pesticides and that are used on this agricultural produce.
I think what the question is referring to is probably other chemicals that are used on the farm.
Yes, and how farmers are able to.
Yes, because it's an entire value chain.
Like the guys who are using sniper, I suggested and recommended outright ban, because how do we reach them to even train them? But that will not be the same with the farmers. Government must be encouraged to reach out to our farmers through the various ministries of Agric, and train them, advise them on the use of these chemicals.
Because most of the farmers are, you know, when we talk about education, most of them, if you check their
largely illiterate, yes.
So how do they know that, okay, this particular quantity is just what is best? Perhaps someone has trained them and tell them this is how it should go, but just looking at their farm produce and saying, oh, I really don't want this thing to get spoiled, so I needed to add a bit more. And they may not know the implication of, you know, adding extra to the dose.
Awareness and training. That is what I say that is feasible at this stage.
Are we doing it?
I'm not in a position to say yes or no, but my opinion is that we need to do more.
All right. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's speak to the issue of outright bans. This is not the first time we're seeing bans in the country because some of the people who use a particular product are abusing it. Look at the issue of codeine, for instance. Because young people were abusing codeine, the government went ahead to ban it, forgetting that pharmaceutical companies use this as raw materials, which then impacts them because pharmaceutical companies are licensed and have the capacity to produce things that are useful to society. So, how do we readjust the way we just quickly go to ban things outrightly? Because there are people who will need sniper for other useful purposes.
Yes, you know, if you are if you have approval, say from NAFDAC, like, okay, I'm a farmer, I use sniper, and this is the quantity I use. I don't think the ban affects them because they get approval to bring it into use. But you see, all of these things is all about our safety because what if a particular produce from the farm is defective, maybe it has mycotoxin or have chemical residue, and it gets away from the farm, either to the production center or to the home, it's a big problem. So if you don't want such, while you are working out how you want to regulate it, you better ban it. Because the end result is better imagined. So we're not advocating an outright ban for all chemicals, whatever, but we must increase the training, the awareness. Nigerians are forever willing to learn.
So
maybe
we
got from the street.
Access and increase training for those who really need it.
Yeah, training and awareness. And let's ensure that even on the farm, it can be done. Okay, you are using a particular chemical. This is an office in this particular locality. We train people that will help you in the use. These are things that government must do. My institute cannot do that, but they can use us to do it. We're all over the country. We have 11 different chapters spread across the whole nation.
Yeah. Okay.
We are always there as willing partners.
Okay. So Ajayi David is, I guess, is a food technologist. He's saying most food technology graduates are student members of NIFTS. Yeah. So how do we become more active in the activities of the institute? I guess is one of you.
Yeah, he must be a student member.
So just in case he wants to contribute his quota.
No, he should ensure that he keeps his activities at the NAFT level, which is when you are a student, you are a member of NAFT. When you graduate, you now become a member of NIFT.
Okay.
We have, excuse me, we have a conference coming up. We have a yearly conference. This year's conference is in Oka, Anambra State. And we're going to be looking at traditional food processing challenges. And all these things we're talking about will come up there. And our students are encouraged. They're encouraged to participate at our conferences. So I'm sure he's aware. He's aware of what he has to do. But peradventure, if he's worried that we have some students, even when they are students, they opt to pay and become a member of the institute, a professional member. But even at that, they cannot be professional until they graduate. Okay. They will not be given, but they have access. We do have a website.
Where people who now know that they need to do business with you or contact you for some of the things they need to do.
We're always there.
Thank you very much, sir, for being a part of the program. We've been speaking with Mr. Emmanuel Oluwole Toye, the president and chairman of Council, Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology. Thank you very much for being part of the show.
Thank you. It's been...
And that's sunrise for you today on Channels Television. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning. It's been
a wonderful time, we must say.
I am Yomi Otaibe. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
And I'm Kaidi Alani. I will enjoy the rest of my day.